Don't you just love that? I mean, that was absolutely brilliant. And thank you to Noughts for putting that little compilation together. It's getting us all in the party mood, definitely, isn't it? And parties are not long away. And I'm glad to say we're having a party tonight in the company of our special guest, the man who's made more than 40,000 runs in all the professional cricket. And I counted something like 900 games as well. They know him as the banger. We know him as Marcus Trescothick. Marcus, welcome to the world's best cricket club.
Good evening. How are we doing?
It's great to have you on. And
photos in that sort of introduction. Some real young ones and some older ones and stuff, and some serious ones as well. So
yeah, there were some nice ones, weren't there? Shall we have a look at them again? Let's have a look. You can talk us through them actually. If we go back to, let's see where they are. I love Tresco there. Actually, I think that is inspired. I think you should use that as some kind of label or badge or something. So we've got this one here. What about that?
That's worrying. I think looking at the label on the collar, I reckon that's my first year, 93.
Yeah, and you're my connection with the past, because I retired in 93 and you started in 93. So absolutely. That's
I don't think we ever played against each other, did we?
No, I looked it up actually today. If you ever played in an AXA Equity and Law game against me for Durham, with that shirt in the background, but I don't think you didn't play too many games that year. Right. So
did you play any minor counties after you finished?
No.
He played in minor counties when he was playing.
Right, so that one. Well, these ones are all a bit more contemporary.
Yeah, they're better.
That looks a bit grumpy.
So that must be commentating, that one.
Right. Okay. The King of Keynsham. Tell us about Keynsham.
Keynsham.
All right. Well, tell us about it anyway. So that's you're wearing the Union Jack there. What else? And then that's your last day, is it?
No, that was the end of the season. I think that might have been sort of like 2018 or something like that.
Right.
End of the year.
That's a double 100 or something.
That was in 100. That one.
Oh right.
Yeah. Oh.
Brilliant. Okay. Well, go on then. Tell us about Keynsham then. What's it like?
Very quiet little place. Obviously built around the little village or little town they had, with the rugby club, football club very close together, and then the cricket club the other end of town. Judd Trump is another Keynsham star from obviously the world of snooker. I'm sure there's a few others as well. I just can't remember who they are. But very nice little place, not far from where Mum lives now. So interesting.
Most people in Bristol are related in some way. Are you related to Simon Mann?
What are you trying to say?
It's so dear. Mind you, I did have a go about the minor counties at the start, so that's fair enough. Bristol has only has about 500,000 people in it, Oz,
Yeah, we are both Bristol City avid fans, though.
Are you?
The connection there.
You're the vice president, aren't you, or something?
I'm an honorary vice president.
Honorary vice president, yeah.
Bizarre, because it's like named in the program every week, and it's like wow. But no, I do have a good affiliation with them. Go up and do a bit of work with them. Yeah, pop into the training ground now and again just to chat to Lee Johnson mainly when he was there. I got to know a few of the guys, but I haven't been up for a while because of COVID.
Were you a footballer?
A little bit when I was at school. Goalkeeper, the fat lad, get the fat lad in goal. So just getting, otherwise you don't have to run around. But I think once when I came to about 14, 15, when cricket was becoming a bit more serious, and I sort of moved aside really then and sort of concentrated on the cricket.
Well, you're back. I mean, talking about concentrating on the cricket, your back is, in the England fold now, and you was
in the hot seat.
Yeah, in the England batting coach. I mean, we what we should do, I suppose, the start of this program is talk about what happened today in Ahmedabad. I don't know whether how much of it you've seen, Marcus, today. Whether you got up at 4 o'clock in the morning and watched every single ball.
I watched. I've watched probably from on and off from sort of like 7:30 this morning. Bits and pieces of it, more going into the last sort of session. Really disappointed, I guess. I think you'd want them to probably get a little bit more, having winning the toss and batting first on day one. But again, it still looks quite tricky with the spin. When some are spinning more than others, and someone seemed to be skidding on. So that's a real challenging time to be batting when it's like that.
Something Alistair Cook said during one of the earlier test matches, because he was with us on the Cricket Social on the BBC. He said, you know, when I look at it, I think it was the second test in Chennai, he said this, that he said, I'm not sure how I would score runs out there. It's doing so much. Yeah. And some balls are, you know, going straight on, and some balls are spinning, and some balls are spinning big and going to go over batsman's shoulder, sometimes going over the wicketkeeper's shoulder. What would you know, how would you play it if you were out there? I mean, you scored hundreds in India. You scored I remember seeing 100 in Calcutta in one day international. Yeah. There. I mean, how would you play it?
I was the same as him, looking upon it, going, right, this is going to be really tricky because the variation was so much. One would skid through, and the next one would really spin big. That makes it really tricky. The first thing I'd have to try and get in place is a very good defence, and I'd be thinking, get my bat in line with my pad. I'm taking my pad out of the equation completely. So I'm either going to nick it to slip, or I'm going to nick it to leg slip. I'm not going to get LBW or bowled. That would be the sort of premise that I would go into batting, and then try and wait for a ball that's wide or short to be able to cut or punch away through the offside. But it's so tricky with DRS nowadays. Sweep is such a different shot than it used to be. Only it's, you know, I don't see it as a viable shot on that type of pitch. It's not a viable shot when the ball is spinning away. So facing Ashwin, and when the ball's skidding on, I'm not thinking sweep at all there, because it's just too dangerous. You miss it, you're gone. In this day and age.
Yeah, I don't think people are quite. I mean, I'm banging on about this a bit too much, I think, probably, and probably boring myself. But you know, I've worked out that the stumps, you know, in the minds of the umpires now are considerably wider than they were, because they're giving people out that are, you know, the ball's just clipping. And I keep getting these sort of people on social media saying, "Oh, you're just explaining, you finding excuses for crap batting," but actually, I don't think it is crap batting. I think it's really taxing the top players. And India were bowled out for 140. I mean, I'm always getting accused of being biased and, you know, making excuses for England and not looking at the Indian side and praising their bowlers. But their batsmen are struggling as well. And I think it's the most demanding period of batting against spin with the DRS in place, and umpires more inclined to give it out than I think I've ever seen.
Yeah, the only difference was when I watched, there was a spell, wasn't it, when Kohli was batting with Rohit Sharma. I thought that spell highlighted to me how good their defence was. I thought they defended brilliantly and then just sort of picked off runs as they needed to be. Then Kohli got out, and suddenly it all changed, and it was a quick flux of wickets really, really quickly. But their defence in where they got their foot and the decision making on their defence, I thought was brilliant. There was a small passage of play that was really important. But you know, it's not like they scored at 4 and over or anything like that. They was finding it as tricky as anyone else.
Well, and they were playing against, you know, with due respect, Leach and, well, which test are you talking about? The third test.
The last one, the one.
I mean, they were both playing against Leach and Root. So, I mean, you know, Jack is a decent bowler, but he's not, you know, he's not international brilliant or anything. So, you know, if they are struggling against fairly average bowlers, it does show how difficult it is. I mean, I suppose, could you use those examples you're talking about there to maybe talk to the players and say, look, you know, could that be your strategy? Although I suppose when you come into the job, this whole kind of issue is going to be gone, and it's going to be now about one-day cricket and then looking ahead to the summer, really.
Yeah, I think it's definitely worthwhile being able to pick up that passage of play and say, look at this. Look what they did. Look where their feet were. Look what their decision making was like. Look at the shots they played if they were trying to attack. Of course, that's the sort of things you use as a coach. You're trying to educate people in any possible way. Some people are very visual learners and want to see video of other batters or themselves. Other people want to feel the way that it happens and try and get that sort of process of how they work it and understand it themselves. So you can take these little bits, and some people will really benefit from it, and other people won't like it as much. But you know, anything to try and help.
What was the hardest period that you experienced as a batsman? If you can sort of relate to what the guys are going through now, did you have anything similar? I actually seem to remember you hated little dobby medium pacers sort of drifting it outside off stump. But I mean, did you go through a period where you were trying to find your game again after some difficult matches?
I reckon I'd have hated facing you, Yoz.
You wouldn't actually, because I'd have given you you wouldn't, because I'd have given you plenty of short and full balls, so you wouldn't. I bowled a bit like Jack Brooks, so I reckon you could probably be fine actually.
They're the odd game. I tell you what, we had a real spell with, which we found tricky, when we went to places like Sri Lanka. We used to play on slow, turgid pitches, and especially for our white ball games, we just couldn't adjust. We weren't good enough to adjust, and we hadn't thought of methods to adjust in those sort of scenarios, and we just never got it right. You know, whenever they batted first, they'd get 320, and then we'd come into bat and get bowled out for like 250. We just couldn't understand how to do it. We just didn't know what to do. There were other scenarios when your Ashes trips in particular. So the Ashes trip we had over in Australia, and also the game 2001, you know, the intensity of what they put upon you in that sort of series was really tricky. And it was different to most other series that you play. There's a different feel about it, a vibe. And if you don't adjust to it well enough, you don't succeed, because it's very different in that approach. And you see it almost with the Indian series. Yes, the pitches are tricky, but it's a different feel, you know. And I watched a bit of Joe Root today. You know, I thought he looked slightly out of sorts, you know, with a couple of balls off the seamer in particular, which he fended at. That's what it can do to you. It can put you under pressure in different ways, and just get in your head, because it's you know, it feels like a different style of cricket.
And also as well, I'm thinking, you know, Joe Root, he's been out there now for a couple of months, and you know, he's what is this? His sixth Test match of the winter already. He's the captain, and that you'd think as well, and also as well, you know, the quality of India's bowling. You'd think that it must be a sort of feeling of being worn down come the end of a series like this.
Yeah, sure. I feel for him. You know, he's done so well with the Sri Lanka series, and then coming to India and getting that double 100. The extra responsibility of being captain and everything that goes on, and it drains you, no doubt about it. I've never experienced necessarily as a captain, but you know when you've had that long series and back-to-back series of playing 6 Test matches within the space of 6 or 7 weeks, I can only imagine how he's feeling at the moment. But you know, he started it so well. It's just you know, it looks like it's tricky for him at the moment.
I suppose one other thing I guess is a challenge for you, especially, is, you know, you're working across the age group. So I know you're going to be working with the Lions and so on, and, you know, as well as the first tier, the top 11. When you're in the Lions or in county cricket, you haven't got DRS.
No.
And suddenly that's another thing, I suppose, that hits you. So how, when you get into international, so how do you overcome that hurdle? And is that something that you're going to try and work on?
Well, getting an understanding of what it's going to be like batting with the DRS.
Yeah,
of course. I think you know, with the next crop that are going to be coming through, especially the guys who would be Lions players, that, you know, you could easily pick them out. But you know, they will already be thinking about what it's going to be like, understanding what DRS does, and then you've got to try and prep them up in that way, because they need to have that understanding now, so that when they get to international level and it's there, they need to know, you know, how it's going to work. Don't be surprised by it, because you've got time to prepare for it. So,
should it be brought into county cricket?
I think
in some way.
I think it'd be brilliant if we could. Realistically, the cost of it, you know, I don't know what it costs, but I appreciate that there's a bigger outlay of money is going to be needed to get the cameras and everything that comes with it. So I doubt that it'll be there for, you know, anytime soon, but it'd be great if it could.
I think I mean, it'd be worth looking into, but I know Paul Hawkins has designed a sort of fairly cheap version, which can be used with, you know, iPhones and even a version for club cricket. So I think he was telling me that, you know, all county grounds will be equipped with the basics for Hawkeye. So it could be. And
is it reliable with that sort of?
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's basic, you know, sort of computerized maths, isn't it? So, okay. I mean, it is, yeah. It won't be quite as slick, but it is. You can do it with 2 cameras, with 2 phones actually, because I've done a trial with it in a club game where the umpire has a phone and both umpires have a phone, and you can, by syncing them together, you can get the track of the ball and project where it would end up.
Wow! So you just get like you just see the tracking of the ball. You don't get a snicker, or you don't get.
Well, I mean, you'd obviously add that. I mean, there's little devices you can put on the back of bats and all sorts. I mean, this is, I suppose we're talking 5 years ahead, but I think with Hawkeye and 2 cameras in umpires' pockets, you know, or iPhones clipped to their pockets or whatever, you can actually, they then look at their, I mean, he's shown me the technology. They then look at their phone and they get a track from each camera, from each phone, and they can tell where the ball went.
Yeah. That's interesting. I mean, what would be worth finding out from Marcus actually is the difference you feel between players who don't play with DRS and players who then suddenly have to play with. I mean, the step up to international cricket is tough enough already, isn't it? I mean, there's that mental challenge, and also this, you know, depending on who you're playing, that high skill challenge as well. But
Yeah.
how much does DRS then sort of add on to that?
Well, I'm only going off other people's experience. It was never introduced when I was playing.
You got out of it at the right time, didn't you?
Well, I know for sure there was 100 I got at Lords against Sri Lanka. I reckon I was out 3 times LBW before I was finally nicked one off. But there are, you can go through many games, and there'll be other games where I, you know, potentially got sawn off without when I wasn't out. But you know, it's interesting because some of the players talk about it, and it's just become a part of what they do now. That I think they've adjusted comfortably enough to understand what DRS is going to bring. They need to try and build methods around it. You know, I haven't really sat down and talked to them about, you know, defensive techniques with some of the guys in the main team at the moment, but it would be interesting. I'd like to do that once I, you know, get a bit more comfortable in the position and I'm a bit more around the team, a bit more, that you can build that relation to have those conversations.
This is worth finding out, Marcus, how the job came about and what you feel you're expected to do and how you see the job. And, you know, and you're leaving Somerset as well, which is obviously been a huge part of your life.
Yeah, I think it sort of came around. I spoke with various people within the ECB to say that these positions are going to be coming up in time. Would I be interested? And, you know, obviously back from 2019 when I started working during the Ashes, that I was getting a little taste of, you know, what it was like doing international duty again. And then I had a couple of trips away in the winter, and just spent more and more time. A bit of bubble life last summer with at the Rose Bowl and at Manchester. So gradually sort of building back into it, and then you go through the interview process and do everything you do with that, and obviously then it was good news. So yeah, I'm delighted. You know, it's been a long journey with myself at Somerset, and I've had a job there, sort of assistant coach for the last couple of seasons, which has really helped me sort of learn and gain experience working with other coaches. You know, you've got a good head coach and a good director of cricket, but you've also got other coaches within it who are really helpful for me, who really sort of progress my career, because I can ask questions with them and they can help me build a better understanding. So it is the right time. You know, I'm ambitious in terms of where I want to go with my coaching, and potentially, you know, a domestic head coach, and then maybe one day international head coach as well. So this is the next part of the journey for me to take, to get international experience, then spend more time away from home, with a view to then becoming a head coach down the line.
I'm sure people listening to this will be saying, how would it work with the travel because of the situation in the past? How long could you spend away from home at any one time and feel comfortable?
Well, I'm building that up. So that was part of the process working with the ECB, and the question obviously came up within my sort of interview process. And I've spoken to Ashley and to Mo and to Chris on a few occasions about, you know, what I'm prepared and how I see it. And I see it very much at the moment. If it's 2, 3, 4, 5 week trips, I'm pretty comfortable with that. You know, I've built that back up over the last sort of 5, 6 years to get that, you know, a lot better and have a lot more trust in myself that I can cope with that. I had a couple of trips with England already. I've did 2 weeks in South Africa in 2019. I did, you know, we had a month in South Africa again just before Christmas, and they were superb. I really, really enjoyed it. It reminded me of all the good things about touring that I used to love, because there was many bits of touring which became a real delight to do when you're playing. Now it's a little bit different because, you know, the stresses are slightly different. You know, the demands of going back to your room and worrying about your performance from the day is not there. but I'm a lot more confident. You know, I've built up more strategies and understanding and certain things that are really helping me to, you know, to get through it. And I want to get back on it. I really do. So it's a continued journey that will make it better for me.
Well, that's really good news. It's good to hear. And what would you describe as your batting coach philosophy? I mean, that's the job for now. You talk about being a head coach eventually. What's your philosophy as a batting coach?
Well, see ball, hit ball. Yeah, let's just get on with it. Stop messing around, isn't it? I think that's a really interesting question, because it's, you know, I'm a more technical understanding at the moment about what I try and keep for players and try and want players to work upon, to be very balanced, very still. And then be positive, you know, and that being positive can be running between the wickets or loud calling, you know, having that approach, so you sort of implement yourself at the crease to show that you're there to mean business. And I'm still learning some of it, you know. I think I've been played a long time. Doesn't always mean that you can sort of translate it straight into playing. I'm still picking up things all the time and asking questions of other coaches around me, because I want to learn. I want to get a better understanding. I've had situations over the course of this winter working with some of the Somerset lads where I come back from the session just thinking, right, what has happened there? I didn't really get across what I wanted to do. And there's one case where I was working with Tom Lammonby and it just didn't work. The session we tried to do just didn't work. So I phoned Graham Thorpe and I said to him, look, this is the situation. What would you do? And you sort of gain that rapport with other coaches and a relationship that you can start working and building. And, you know, I don't have all the answers and I don't pretend to know that I would do. And I'm very much a sponge at the moment, wanting to gain more information of how to do it from coaches who have done it better than me for longer than me.
Shall we just enjoy a bit of your batting before we get deep into the coaching philosophies? So I just cobbled together a little bit of your 219 against South Africans at the Oval, which I think is it your highest score in any cricket?
No, that was my highest test score.
Highest test score, right. What else? What's your highest first class score?
284 against Northants.
Right, okay.
Threw away 300 though. Gave away 300.
God, imagine. You know, that's the one thing you can't you haven't got with Gooch, is it? You did that at 333. Anyway, so let's just enjoy this for a couple of minutes. Some lovely traditional drives and cuts here from you. Here we go.
It's been a long time coming, 23 balls to be precise. It's an uppercut that gets him on his way.
He's got himself to 50, and he's going to be really thrilled with that, because it's not a characteristic Trescothick innings, but it's a mighty important one for his country.
Second time that Trescothick has driven Callis down the ground. Just a firm push, really, but the timing is exquisite.
There's shouts of catch it, but it's safe, and a boundary to Trescothick.
Nicely played. Beating the man at cover. It's gone all the way for 4. And taking the game away a little bit from South Africa with shots like that. Trescothick on strike and has 97. Great way to bring up the 100, dispatching a Paul Adams long hop, and that is Marcus Trescothick's 4th Test 100.
Oh, I'm seeing it big. I fancy you, Mr. Hall. And up comes 150 to Marcus Trescothick. It's full, it's through, and it's 4. And it's 200 to Marcus Trescothick.
Lovely innings. There's a beautiful sort of simplicity about that innings, actually. I was going to just play one shot, particularly that drive. You know, it was just nice. There's a slow-mo here, I think. So, you know, not a massive amount of footwork. It wasn't your trademark, but hands and what balance, transfer of weight. I mean, how do you describe that?
Yeah, the timing was crucial. So I used to do a lot of work on the contact point of when I was hitting the ball. If I was hitting it right late under my eyes and close to me, then that was always a good sign that I was timing it okay. The problem always came when I would hit the ball too far out in front, so you get too early on it. Because then, you know, with little foot movement that I had, it just never worked. It was always very tricky, and that's when I got into trouble, really. But I reckon I was a better player once I'd stopped playing international cricket, and I worked out a style of technique which suited playing in county cricket, where I had a bigger back movement. I was very almost like a left-handed version of Alex Stewart's movements, where I used to load up on the back foot to be able to come forward, because there really wasn't many people within county cricket who could bowl too short at you and really push you back. So I would have loved to have played with that technique and that style and that foot movement I had in international cricket, because I reckon I would have got into the ball so much better, and my movements wouldn't have been highlighted quite as much as what they were.
And I mean, this is just sort of, I suppose, just beautiful rhythm, is it?
Yeah. So watch this here. So just take that slightly back. This is another thing that I always had to fight with. So it was this head position here, right? You see that as he's coming into bowl, the next shot, you watch my dipping of my head. So if I always got that timing slightly too late, my head was always on the move. So, but if I got it right and the timing okay, then my head would dip and stay still, and then I'd be in a better position to see the ball. Quite often when I was out of form, that was part of the rhythm that I struggled with. And I was on the move as the ball was coming down, which means then you're not judging the ball like you wanted to judge it.
In fact, your front foot there, I think, is slightly in the air.
Yeah, I think
would that be all right though? I mean,
yeah, I reckon that's on the move to where I want the ball, when I want to hit the ball, basically.
And then it's planted there.
But I reckon that would be more what my style was in county cricket, where I would load up the back foot and almost have like a floating front foot, or a tapping front foot, where I could then, it would be light on the front foot. I could move it forward or back depending on what I wanted to do. But yeah, I reckon I'd love to have played with that style after, you know, for the few years afterwards playing county cricket. I was very prolific and I felt almost at my best.
Mm. Well, it was a fine innings. It must have been a wonderful feeling. That, I mean, it looked a beautiful flat pitch actually, but you didn't half take toll on that day.
Well, the oval was always the best. You know, if I could choose to bat anywhere in the world, I'd bat at the oval every time, because test pitches there were just a delight. Even on day one, sometimes they were just absolutely magnificent to bat on. And funny enough, that innings started quite poorly for me. I remember
scratched around, didn't you? Yeah,
really scratchy, and I couldn't quite get an understanding or get the timing and the rhythm of what I wanted to do. And I remember making a conscious effort then. I had that thought of going, right, stop thinking about what I'm doing, stop thinking about my feet, my head. And I decided to sing a song. And once it started, I was gone. That was it. I was away and completely in the zone. And I remember singing the whole day, then going home, singing at night time, almost still singing it while I'm asleep. And still, every time I wake up, it was in my head. Coming back the next day, still singing the song. And that really helped me focus and get me away from thinking the technical issues that potentially I was dealing with in my own mind, and just enabled me to watch the ball. And it was one of those days where the ball, it almost felt like I could count the stitches on the ball. I was seeing it so perfect, where it was almost like I was in the Matrix and it was just slow motion and I could see exactly what I wanted. You know, I didn't have enough of those times in my career because they're just pure delight.
Wow. Well, neither did we, Simon. We have
What
no
was-
idea what he's talking about.
What was the song?
Yeah, what was the song?
It was a song from Eminem, "Lose Yourself," and it was just going through my head at the time, and it just fitted.
Did you try it again? That technique?
Yeah, lots of time. I used it as a technique quite often, and many other times. In fact, my highest ever first class score was the same thing. I was singing a song. I can't remember what it was. It wasn't the same song, but I was singing a song the same way, and quite often used it for a good period of time. I reckon back end of my international career. Now, just after that, I would use that quite often.
Were you someone who liked to play the music in the car on the way to the ground?
Yeah, very much so, because it almost sort of fitted in with the sort of mindset and the way I was operating. Many a time also you'd be playing the music or listen to a song and it wouldn't work also. It didn't always work. It didn't always fit in how you want.
It's really interesting, isn't it? I mean, you know, Strauss, he said to me once, you'd have never been a batsman because you just weren't organised. You know, I was panicking as I was trying to get to the ground because I was always late and I couldn't find my kit. And so no wonder, you know, my career was chaos as well. You know, the great batsman, you know, had this kind of preset way of doing it, and there's probably no substitute for that, really.
I always wanted to be tidy with my kit, so that I knew almost where it was, because obviously you're rushing off as an opening batsman. I don't want to be faffing around going, where's my box, where's my thigh pad? And I remember a couple of times when I couldn't find a thigh pad or a box, and it would just fluster me and just completely distract me from where I wanted to be. So it was always quite methodical in terms of, right, there's my gloves, there's my bat, and my pads, boots, gloves, everything I need it to be. That's where I know it is. So that as soon as the last wicket goes, you know where you're running off, it's there, and all planned out for me.
It was an amazing test match, that actually. I think South Africa was something like 350 for 2 on the first day. Yeah. I mean, to win from there.
England got 600.
Yeah, it was incredible. I think
for about 460, didn't we? Something like that.
Yes.
We got 600 and got them out for 150.
It was an amazing game, actually. Yeah.
Alex Stewart's last test match.
Yeah, it was an astonishing game of cricket. It shows what you can do, actually. How you can come back. Sometimes you think the game is gone. I don't know whether we feel that about the fourth test in Ahmedabad or not. Whether it feels as if the game's gone, but you never know. 9 balls tomorrow.
Well, you've got to judge it after both teams are batted, haven't we?
Yeah.
I think we appreciate that. It's probably below where you'd expect them to be after day one. But as we thought on, the third test match, when we were bowled out for, what was it, 112, whatever it was?
126.
126.
It was 112.
Yeah, and it was tricky.
Oh.
You never know.
Before we get some questions from our loyal audience, can we just go into the charity a little bit? Because I know you're a patron of the Professional Cricketers Trust.
I'm a director.
A director, sorry.
Yeah.
And I mean, it just feels to me like it's quite an important charity, actually, because at the moment, there's a lot of players not uncertain about their future. They've had a difficult 12 months. There's been more demands on the charity's time for support. Can you just put into context how important people, so the support of players is, especially given what you've experienced?
Well, the charity is brilliant. What we try and do in terms of helping other members who have past and present, or who have played the game, is brilliant. But it's tricky because there's more and more people now needing support, especially in these tricky times as we are at the moment. And it's harder to keep generating the money and sort of producing because of where we are at the moment. It's tricky. There's no events happening. There's nothing going on. Well, at least in a normal year, you get Team England will support the Professional Cricketers Trust very well, because all the England guys appreciate, how important it is. But it's pivotal that we keep improving it, because there's more and more people going to need the service in the future. So it's tough when you get the cases come through and we discuss the the things that happen, it grabs you, wrenches on you at times, because it's some sad cases really come through. But we're doing everything we can to try and keep boosting it up and making sure the pot is growing all the time, so that we don't want to get to a point where we can't help people, because that would be sad. If we're running out of money and we say, look, sorry, we can't help you at the moment, we're going to put one of our members in a really bad place. So
how can people help? And I don't mean us so much. I mean, what is the professional help that's the most valuable? What kind of things, say, could you have done with, before you had your issues, that might have helped?
That's a really tricky one. I think more than anything else, and it's the same with anybody who has any form of problem, is having somebody to potentially go and talk to try and work it out, understand it, gain a plan on what you're going to do about it. If you can be that person who can just sit there and listen and don't be judgmental or be a critic about what the problem might be, then you're going to help someone. And it takes a bit of time sometimes, because quite often you think, right, what can I do to help? What can I make a difference with? But actually, sometimes the best thing you can do is just sit there and listen and let someone offload to talk through a problem before you can start making the problem better by thinking of solutions.
So you didn't really have anybody, I suppose, when you were playing international still?
Yeah, when I was playing, and obviously I was coming back from India, I remember I mentioned it to Michael Vaughan, and I mentioned it to Ashley Giles about how rough I was feeling. I don't think I really went into too much depth with them about exactly what was happening, because I was really unsure about what was happening. I don't think I was in a position where I felt confident enough to talk to them. I didn't know what I was going through at the time, and so it's really hard to explain it by talking to somebody. The only person I really spoke to at the time was our doctor who was there. I could really explain it to them, because you have that trust with a doctor, because their professional position is very much to try and help people, isn't it? But I think time has evolved, and people will be in a lot more better place. There's already things in place within the England team to try and help the well-being of players within there. There's certain members of staff who have trained up to, as part of their role, part of their job, is to also be looking in on the well-being of players on not necessarily a daily basis, but it might be over the course of a week, if they know that people might be a bit susceptible to it. So already that's different. They're managing workload, as we've seen. I know it's a contentious issue with people going home and resting, but for the benefit of their mental health and their well-being, this is a really good idea with the volume of cricket they've got to play. So it's looked upon completely different. When I was playing, I didn't miss many series. I think I had a series against India I missed with a broken thumb. I think I was rested from a white ball trip in Namibia and Zimbabwe. Apart from that, it was pretty full on, and I was playing both formats of the game, and it was you're traveling a lot. So.
Yeah, I always felt that, actually. Funnily enough, and I'm sure this is the case now as well. I always felt with you that you were opening the batting in, but not only Test cricket, but one-day internationals as well, and not having any downtime. So not only did you have the pressure of opening in both formats, but also you never played for Somerset once you were centrally contracted. So you didn't, in a way, you didn't get the chance to have some fun, just to actually play cricket for enjoyment. And there was always that pressure all the time, which I suppose now is even more acute, because you're in the bubble, you go back for a bit and then you're back in the bubble again in the spotlight. So it must be very hard to find that. And, you're talking about playing songs and things to relax. It must be very hard to be able to relax, actually, which is a key to performance, I suppose.
The balance is, you've got to strike a balance. And I think, the issues are still the same in terms of the demands of players, and, they're playing a lot of cricket, and, you have other pressures now. Social media pressure is massive, if you get drawn into it. But, it is managed better, because they are allowed now series and time away to be back with family before they'll come back out to another series. And I think that's a good thing. It can be a little bit strange looking upon it, but I think for the long-term benefit of players, it is a real help just to get that break and that time away with family, just to get back to normality. rather than being stuck in a hotel where you've got to isolate for 10 days and you've got to play in a game and all you can do is go ground, hotel, ground, hotel. That's tricky. That wears you down. And that's something that I think the ECB have done a real good job to highlight that and hopefully sort of stave off any problems that might arise.
Great. Should we take some questions, Giles?
Yeah. No, let's do that. And I think we know who's going to be first, don't we? Look at that! Oh, how do we know? How do we know you were going to be first?
No,
And Dave.
I have no idea. I don't know how you possibly had an idea.
Even Marcus knew you were going to be first.
Hello, Annie.
Hello, Marcus. How lovely to see you. I've got a question.
Tell us how you're feeling first, Annie. Go on. Nervous?
Very,
excited?
very excited. I'm not too nervous now. I'm very sad that Marcus is leaving us. So
I'm sure he'll be back though.
Yeah, it feels a bit of a sad and happy moment, really. But I'm really pleased for him as well. So and he bloody deserves it. So but you better come back to Somerset because I won't be happy otherwise. Marcus, I've got a couple of questions, but the first one is a serious one and the second one isn't so serious. With the growing trend for many in the game to say that we need to reduce the number of first-class counties, I want you to make the case for Somerset. I've got lots of reasons why I think Somerset should stay, but why do you think it should be one of the counties that remains?
Well, we're the hub of the Southwest for a start. And I think the support that is shown for cricket in Somerset and for us in particular, it's essential that we are. I think it'd be a real shame and a real sad ending if it was suddenly taken away. To the fact that I'd even start expanding it, for us to become a 100-ball franchise eventually to come down to the Southwest. I think it will be wrong to be losing cricket, the hub in the Southwest of what we got at the moment.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I know lots of people in Cornwall and Devon that are massive fans of Somerset and really need the cricket at Somerset. So yeah, that's a big point.
I think what we get at Somerset, fair enough. We get brilliant crowds and the support we get, and people come to watch and are gobsmacked by what they see and what they sit and be involved because of the atmosphere that we produce. But our academy and our junior section of what we're producing, what we got currently 5 or 6 players within the England setup. For a small county like ours, that's incredible, really. So we should be looked upon as being a blueprint for other counties. Fair enough. The big counties, they might have more money and they might have a bigger scope, but we're producing as good as anything else. And the next generation coming through, there'll be another 2 or 3 guys within the next 3 years we'll be producing straight into England as well.
Yeah, and we've got such a rich history as well of fantastic players as well. But yeah, the academy is a massive thing, isn't it? Okay, one other question. Brian the cat.
Yeah.
Is he actually nice to any of the players? Because he's a cantankerous little bastard. I just wondered if he's got a favourite in any of the players, or do you have like a competition who can score points if they hit him or anything?
We were actually debating today because he was asleep in the gym while the boys were training. He curled up on one of the guys' coats, actually, funny enough. It was great. We're debating today whether he's a stray or whether he actually lives on just around the corner. Obviously, his house is right next door to the ground. But I think he's a lovely cat. I sat with him today, came and sat on my lap. I had about 10 minutes just mucking about, and he was having a great time. And often do when I pop in there and he's around. So I'm a big fan of Brian.
Sounds like he's a bit of a fan of yours as well, then, because he doesn't like me.
He spends a lot of time in there. He's like a therapy cat for the players. He is in the gym a hell of a lot where the guys are around, and he just sort of helps himself. Quite often he'll get locked in there at night time, and you know, it can be a bit difficult. But
Do we know how old he is or anything?
no idea.
No.
I think he's actually a girl as well.
Oh.
So it might be more Brian E than Brian.
Annie, when did your enjoyment or interest in Marcus begin,
Well,
and why?
well, my interest in Somerset actually began before Marcus, with Viv Richards mainly, but I think 1993 when he started around that time, I that was where my real key point was of starting watching, and just loved watching Marcus blossom into this fantastic player. So yeah, right at the start.
Excellent.
Is it time to end this loving or not? I think it might well be. It might be time to go on to Luke, isn't it?
Before that, I just want to ask one more question. Not of Annie, but Annie, thank you very much anyway. And it's kept us going through the winter. Actually, your love affair with Somerset and various individuals, it's fantastic. But Trez, did you always support Somerset? I think your dad played second 11 for somebody, didn't he?
He played a few games for Somerset seconds. Yeah, I played 2 games for Gloucester when I was 11.
Right.
And one was against Somerset, and they realised I was playing for the wrong county. So I played back-to-back games, one against Somerset and got 100, and then played the next day and got 0, and then that was it. I was off to Somerset after that.
Right. So you always, I suppose, because of your dad anyway, you probably supported Somerset rather than Gloucestershire, did you?
Yeah, very much so. Obviously, living in Bristol, we did go up to the county ground at Gloucester a few times to watch cricket, but also then we used to spend quite a bit of time down in Taunton in particular to train with the sort of junior stuff, and then you'd always go and nip along and watch some of the cricket afterwards. So
you chose well anyway. Gloucestershire are rubbish. Sorry.
I'm glad you said
they
that.
They're absolute. Oh my God. They were mostly, whenever I played against Gloucestershire, they were apologising for being on the field even. They were like, oh, we're sorry, we're not very good. But anyway,
all those trophies they didn't win around the year 2000, Yols. I mean, I think it was like,
well, that was after my time. So, sorry, but
right, let's go on. Let's move on.
Let's go on to Luke anyway.
Luke well.
Hi, Luke. Sorry to interrupt.
Hello, no problem. Marcus, I'd just be interested to know, at the elite sort of international level, the split between how much you can technically coach someone and how much is more mental. And just an add-on to that, how would you know if a player is struggling? How would you sort of work out whether it is mental or technical help that they need?
I think the first question, I think it varies. The help that you give players can be both. I think at the highest level, they are because of their high level of skill, they are in a better place to take on technical information and sift through it at the right time, when to use it and when not to use it, and implement it when they need to. So they are better at that, which is what I'm learning. But it can be more of a conversation, just to listen and take on board what they're saying. They might just want to offload to get things off their mind. And I guess that's the skill of a coach, to listen and then be able to go, right, you need X or you need Y, which is going to make the difference. What was the second part to the question?
It was sort of what you were leading on to there, really, in terms of working out as a coach. Is it the mental or the technical help that they might need?
Yeah, I think that's part of the skill of what we get to, where I think we can judge what's going on. You can watch players within games and you watch players in training. You spend time with players communicating and listening and asking questions. And you kind of hope with the skill and what you've learned over the years that you can sort of judge what that is. And quite often you'll just ask them outright, what is the problem here? Is it just, are you feeling mentally you can't concentrate or you can't get your game in order? Or do you think there's actually a technical problem that we need to try and adjust? And, I think building the relationship with players and get a good understanding is when you can get a real good insight into what they're doing and how they're going about things.
Do you play, Luke?
No. I stopped playing years ago.
Oh. Maybe time
I wasn't very good.
Okay. All right. Well, hopefully that answers your question. I see Eugene here says Gloucester now to win the championship. Yeah, right. I'll hell will freeze over before that happens. Probably.
Are they in the first division, Yoz? I think they are, aren't they?
Yeah, they are. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. Well, it hasn't happened for the last 130 years, so why should it start happening now? I mean, try supporting someone else. Martin says on the chat here, do you, Trez, still have any contact with your old opening partner, Mark Lathwell?
No, but I do know that one of his lads has gone for a position at the cricket club. I think it was groundsman or something like that. But no, he doesn't pop in very often. I last saw him, jeepers, I reckon it was around 2008 when I released my book. I might have been doing a book signing at the club or something, and suddenly this bloke appeared and said, "Can you sign this?" I looked up and it was Lathers, and wow, he dramatically changed in that time. But I haven't seen him for a long time now.
He was some player, wasn't he? He was Devonian, was he? Was he from Devon? Yeah. North Devon or somewhere? Yeah. Quite a lot of Devon people come to Somerset, obviously.
No, they're Somerset players. They're not Devon players.
Okay. Oh yeah, right. Whatever. You've changed the boundaries, have you? Right. So Will's here. Hi, Will.
Evening, Simon. Hi, Marcus. Hello, Simon. Marcus, my question for you is back. I'm going to take you back a bit to the 2005 Ashes. Right. Now, you played Shane Warne, from my memory, very well. What was the most challenging thing about facing him throughout the whole of that series?
I will add to that, Will. You say quite kindly that I played him well, but he got me out 5 times out of 10 in that series, so wasn't quite as good as expected. But what the only thing that I thought I could do was be quite aggressive against him. That was part of our mantra of what we were trying to do anyway, and we appreciated that Shane Warne was the key to their game, along with Glenn McGrath, but unfortunately was partly injured for a couple of the games. Shane Warne was the biggest key for them. So we knew that if we could be aggressive and take him down, and he was always going to get his wickets, but if he could get his wickets at 4 and over compared to 2 and over, then we'd be in a lot better position than what we were before. So that was our principle of what we're trying to do. And he was actually part of my developing as a player and trying to change my defensive technique. If you watch back on the Oval Test matches,
yeah,
I got LBW in the first innings, and then I got caught in the second innings.
Caught it slick, wasn't it?
That's right.
Slick, yeah.
Both off Shane Warne, round the wicket, and that was all because I was trying to learn a new defensive technique at the time. I was trying to get to this point where I wanted to get my bat in front of my pad. Because previous games, I'd gone very much bat and pad together. I got caught silly point at Trent Bridge in the 4th Test match. So I wasn't confident enough to defend on the front foot very well. So I then obviously adapted that and tried to play on the back foot and got out both times. So these are the sort of things that go on within the course of the series to try and improve.
I will just say that I was very young at the time, but I still remember watching the 2005 Ashes. It was basically how I got into cricket, was from watching, you guys and Varney and Flintoff and everyone. So yeah, I really think that if probably the 05 Ashes probably hadn't happened and it hadn't been so great, I probably wouldn't have got into cricket. So I think it's mainly down to you.
Thank you.
Nice one. Good one.
Yeah.
Thanks, Will. That's a nice thing to say. Just go. Tell us quickly. Trent Bridge, that Test match, when Warne nearly produced a miracle, chasing 120 odd to win. And then you got them for 7 in the end. And there was quite a lot of stories about the dressing room and people staying in one place and all that. What were you doing in the dressing room in that run chase?
You're looking up if you're out in the middle of the pitch looking up at the balcony, I was sat on the furthest point of the balcony next to Kevin Peterson for my pleasure. And it was like we were just sat there for the whole time. But after I got out, pretty much just enjoying every moment of what was going on, but very nervous, as you can imagine, because that's what stupid little things that cricketers and sports people do when they're sat in changing rooms.
Yeah, amazing. Oh, what a day.
Yeah,
I love the story of the church organist who was playing at Evensong, and he was listening to the commentary of that match because it was on a Sunday, wasn't it? And he was listening to the commentary while playing the organ music as the parishioners were walking in, and he was playing some really depressing sort of dirge as all the parishioners were walking in because England were, declining to 120 for 7. And when they won, apparently he was listening to it in his earpiece. He broke into the Alleluia chorus in the middle of an Evensong service. Yeah, what there were so many amazing stories actually that came out of that series. Was it incredible?
Manchester was the best, wasn't it? When we couldn't get in the ground.
No,
but it was like
that's right. Yeah,
I remember driving in, and I think it was Simon Jones behind me, and then Geraint Jones behind him, and we were just like, crikey, what the hell are we going to do? We can't get down any road. Everywhere we're going, we're blocked in. And it's like I had to drive down the wrong side of the road, and the copper gave me an absolute barrage when I got down the bottom. I had to tell him who we were, and he quickly changed tune when he said, "Oh, no, you better come in then." But magical days, and just see all the supporters around, just going, "Oh my God, what's happened here?" Very different.
Paul Morley's got the backdrop of a different England success, but equally exciting.
Is that you in the background there?
It is me. It is me. I was on. I love that picture. I was on sort of Sports Review of the Year about 15 times that they keep playing that clip. There's my belly hanging out in the background as I'm jumping up and down, which is they're preserved forevermore. Which is on the one hand very good.
Where were you then? Where were you? Do you have any footage?
That's the front row of the grandstand.
Do you have any footage of that? Because I'll tell you why. Because sorry, this is a sort of side issue, but I'm making a documentary about the World Cup, as you probably know, and we want footage from anyone who was there.
I do have it pretty much from about 5 seconds after the ending, as the fireworks are going off on the grandstand. Yes, I do have about a 30-second video of that.
Well, we'd like that, please.
Okay,
you
fine.
can get your name on the credits if it's any.
No worries. No worries. We can do that.
Hey?
Sorry.
For the right price.
Yeah, exactly. Of course,
Make sure you get
if he doesn't want fame, he doesn't have to give it to us,
Absolutely. Well, actually, just talking about the Trent Bridge Test match, and I was there with about 20 of my mates from my club in Nottingham on that Sunday, and we were all doing exactly the same thing, not moving. No one was going to buy a pint. It was like the last 20 minutes was like, no, we can't move. We've got to sit in the seats. We can't buy a pint. We'll save it till afterwards. So I absolutely felt the tension there with you. So yeah, thanks for inviting me on, and obviously for the question, and thanks for being with us, Marcus. So my main question was again on the subject of the Ashes. Obviously, probably the one thing that's missing from your sort of glittering CV is an Ashes 100, and obviously Simon was talking earlier about the 219 against Pakistan. So my question was, what was in your own mind your favourite? If you could choose to live one innings again, what would it be? And second part of the question is, would you, whatever that innings, whatever the answer is to that, would you change that? Would you exchange that in hindsight for an Ashes 100?
I regard my best Test 100 as the 180 I got at Johannesburg 2004 against South Africa, because where we were as a team, obviously we're going to South Africa against a very good side. We were looking at Ashes down the road, so we were thinking, right, we've got to win these series. Chronological series, to think, right, if we've got a chance to beat Australia, we need to do X and Y. One of those was winning South Africa, and that game in particular, we kept losing wickets all around, and I was going okay, got 100, and then managed to whack a few when I got to sort of like 130, 140, and put a total on the board, which then Matthew Hoggard bowled them out, which was a
7 for, I think he took, didn't he?
Yeah, absolutely. And it was just a brilliant game, and I really enjoyed that. Again, very much built around my mental processing about what I was trying to do and singing the song, which was really important for me. Would I substitute it? Maybe I would. I don't really know. It's a tricky one because you kind of get judged, don't you, on Ashes series, and people look upon it that, if Ashes 100s mean more. But I would have loved to have got one, of course. And the one I missed out on was the one at Edgbaston when I got 90,
wasn't it? Yeah.
When everything was going really smoothly, and then it just, all happened all a bit too quick, and I wasn't quite focused for that ball. I remember running in and almost I was a bit rushed, and it just happened. It was like, oh no, what a waste of time that was. So
was that shortly after lunch? You'd gone into lunch on quite a high score, was that right?
Yeah, I probably would have been 60
odd.
lunch probably.
Yeah. Okay.
so it would have been soonish after lunch. But yeah, it's just one of those times. I remember not concentrating for that as well as I could do for that ball.
Interesting about the song singing, because I mean, I was a bowler, but I always used to sing a song in my run-up, which was to help me concentrate and focus, which is definitely a good thing. I definitely recommend to any.
The same song?
Well, depending on the mood. So I saw it in the chat earlier. So if I was playing for the second 11, it'd be something like Take That. But if I was playing for the first 11 in a serious game, it'd be the Sex Pistols or something to get me fired up.
Glenn McGrath talks about it a lot.
Yes, he does. He does. I was going to mention that actually.
When he's under pressure, or
sort of sings, hums a song to himself. Yeah.
Just to try and
mine, of course, was always look on the bright side of life. And who do you play for, Paul? Do you still play?
I very rare. So my kids play for Teddington Cricket Club in Middlesex.
Right, yeah.
I think
Good
you
club.
went down there once or twice last year. So
Yeah, it's a great club.
So occasionally for their social 11, but I used to play in Nottingham. I think mentioned last week with Bilal Shafayat when he was a teenager up in Nottingham many moons ago. But those days are dwindling away.
Lovely club, actually. That's where you can, have deer walking past and stuff. So it's not only in Taunton, Somerset, where you can have wildlife while you're playing cricket. Just one quick question before we go to Jacob. Tres, you mentioned the Ashes and hundreds and how you were judged on that. Is that right, do you think, now, with India being such a strong side? Do you think we put too much focus on the Ashes?
I think there's certain things that define you, didn't there? Throughout your career, it's hundreds, it's whatever it needs to be. That's what, as a batter, that's what you have to live with. But you put upon it, you might put India into that equation. South Africa potentially aren't as strong as they were back in the time when I was playing. It is what it is. There's going to be those sort of things in everyone's career which they're judged upon. And it just hundreds is probably the main one. So the likes of someone like Alistair Cook could be the next guy to get 100 hundreds, but would be a great achievement. This doesn't happen.
How many has he got to go?
I think he's probably Simon Mann. You'll probably able to tell us more, wouldn't you?
I can look it up.
I'll just tell you.
Look it up. I'll tell you what, you look it up. Jacob, you give us your question. Good evening.
Good evening. Great to listen to you, Marcus. One of the questions I wanted to ask you, a bit different to what I sent to notes, is I know in international cricket you had a fantastic record. I think you had a better record in international cricket than first-class cricket.
Average-wise, that's right. Yeah.
Average-wise, I remember. I think it got better after you retired from international cricket. I think your first-class record did anyway. And I just wanted to ask, how there's a lot of players like your Mark Brown Prakash's, your Graham Hicks, they couldn't quite crack it at the test level. Now, you did. You did it the other way around almost. And, what are those attributes that, you would say that you had to do that? Is my question.
It's a tough one to answer. I think the only thing I can sort of give you is that when I went to play international cricket, that felt like is where I belonged. I joined straight away into the white ball stuff, and it was like this. Every time I hit a boundary, I got this buzz of adrenaline and this absolute delight of what I was doing. So I never saw upon it as a real tricky place to be. Of course, you have when you have bad times and the media attention's on you, you're not playing very well. Yeah, that's tricky, but everyone goes through that point. I flourished within that sort of environment, and that's what felt to me like it was the best place to be. The game suited my style of play more. The good pitches, shorter pitch bowling, where playing county cricket when the ball nibbles around a bit. I wasn't very good at that, and I wasn't as suited to that sort of style. So it just felt right. It just felt right to be in that. But it's such a shame. Ramps and Hickey in particular, should have been England's highest ever run scores. Ramps was probably the most talented players, one of the most talented players I saw along with the likes of KP. And Hickey was just an absolute run machine, wasn't he? So such a shame they didn't flourish with it, because they would have made England a very, very good side.
Just on 100 hundreds, Alistair Cook's made 67. I think there's a feeling that perhaps it's possible that no one will ever make 100 hundreds again.
I reckon that's right.
It might well be the case that will happen.
Yeah,
anyway, I think Ramps was the last person to make 100 hundreds.
He was. Ramps, yeah.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
And he went a lot in 3-day cricket, I suppose, would he?
No, he didn't play much 3-day cricket. It was 4 days from about 1990. He played 2 or 3 years in the late 80s when it was 3 days. But he didn't make actually that many hundreds for Middlesex. He made about 70 of his hundreds for Surrey.
He used he would get like 10 a year though, wouldn't he? He'd have seasons where he'd get 2,000 runs a year.
He did. And that's, you missed out. If you'd wanted to get 100 hundreds, you should have played at the Oval as well.
Taunton won bad mind.
Yeah, true. Yeah.
Taunton was pretty flat at times.
Yeah, and small boundaries.
It was a minefield even when I was playing there, so I did well that many.
Alex Gaywood just says, before we come to the next question, Alex Gaywood says, how much of the assault on the first morning at Edgbaston was pre-planned in 2005?
I don't think it was a case of we were just going to go out and just we're going to let them have it. I think it was more a case of what we didn't do in the first test. We needed to step back up and really show what we could do, and then almost everything just fell into place. McGrath was injured. They won the toss and bowl. They didn't bowl very well. Take McGrath out of it. Their economy bowlers aren't particularly strong with Brett Lee and Jason Gillespie at that time and Kaspovic. So everything sort of fell into place. We got off to a good start. It's a fast scoring ground. We just went after them, and it just sort of it snowballed and went from there.
I seem to remember that Merlin sort of made its appearance for the first time.
Right, he was at Lords. He was at Lords, Merlin.
Oh, was he?
Yeah, he was.
But Edgbaston, I seem to remember some nets and Strauss sort of going down the wicket and belting Merlin back over his head and all that.
Yeah, what a genius machine that was, because it was such a big thing. They had to carry it around like a horse box trailer.
Yeah,
around, and once we saw it in originally, it was like, wow, this is amazing. This is the only way we can practice and simulate what we're going to get against Shane Warne. So we were desperate to get it every ground that we went to, and it was almost like our secret weapon to facing and understanding what Shane Warne was like.
Jacob, good evening. Sorry, we've been waffling on.
Yeah, no, I just wanted to ask a question.
Stage is yours.
Yeah, so this is more about coaching. So Marcus, I know he coached Tom Banton quite a bit, and I think it was also mentioned somewhere. My favourite, Joss Butler, he coached a bit. I just wanted to ask. There are often comparisons drawn between the two, and you see Butler now. I rate him as a Test batsman, but he has a real desire to perform in Test match cricket. And I remember Banton got a really good 70 in the county championship at Warwickshire on the 4th day to win it. Yeah. Would you say, when you work with him, would you say there's that kind of desire to really crack it? Because, I mean, having seen that, I remember watching that innings. It'd just be such a shame if he didn't crack it, so to speak, or try and crack
You mean sort of first-class Test?
Yeah. Tom Banton, because, there's lots of comparisons drawn between the two, and I see... He's definitely, from what I've seen, good enough, talented. But I hope he does.
There's no doubt about it. He's got the skill and the talent. He's come into the game at a slightly different point in terms of the T20 campaign of games now is just a far greater than when I was playing. Also, when Joss Butler first started, it was very much a case of 50-over cricket, a bit of T20 cricket, and then first class, so that you could almost cut your teeth and you'd be around the Somerset scene a lot more. Where Tom Banton in the last probably 18 months, 2 years has hardly been around with Somerset because T20 competitions in the winter, then he's away with the bubble last summer where he was hardly playing any cricket anyway. He needs a bit of time, I think, to fall back into, to playing a bit of domestic stuff and a bit of 4-day cricket, to probably hone his technique a little bit again, to get back up to level where he thinks he has a good base of a basic technique that will suit him in 4-day cricket, Test cricket, 50 overs or T20.
Yeah,
and he can go back out and explore to the world of where he's going to be.
At times when I saw him play in 4-day cricket, he just looked so, imperious. And I mean, at times I thought his technique looked really solid at sometimes. And I mean, I hadn't seen every game he's played, obviously, but I do think that he's very good. And I just had one more question. You mentioned that when you went to Australia, how intense it was and how it was just complete. I think Flintoff also mentioned border security not being too nice. But with the Ashes that are coming up, I think Butler, Stokes, Archer will. I think I read somewhere they'll come in with 2 weeks of quarantine and then a week of practice. I mean, just out of interest, I personally think after Butler and Stokes are two of our most important batsmen. Would you have been able to go into such a big Test series with that little? Well, I don't know, that little preparation with the differences, obviously, in conditions.
Yeah, it's not ideal. You know, you'd kind of want a bit of preparation. I think if you compare it to the team that won in 2010, I think they had 3 or 4 warm-up first-class games, I think. But times have moved on. I think we have to understand that, you know, the players will be playing, so they'll be up to speed in terms of the competitiveness of cricket. It's whether they're mentally made that switch, and that's the job of the player, the coaches, everyone around it, to try and, within that short space of time, to flip the switch to make sure they're ready to go. And sometimes they do. Sometimes they crack that straight away, and they can be a game player. Ben Stokes, for example, is a game player where he'll turn it on and he'll get it right. Other players may need a bit more time to get themselves attuned for it.
That's great. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Jacob. Ian Bell, when he was on this show, Trez, a few weeks ago, he was pleasantly surprised by the attitude of young Lions players, mainly, who said they had this desire to play Test cricket. He thought when he came in to coach with them that they would be talking about T20 and all these kind of funky skills. And although they had those skills, he said he was impressed that they really still had the desire to play tests in the long format. Is that your experience of what you found?
I've only had one experience where one player has talked heavily about the sort of T20 cash cow of the game. I think we're unique in England because the way that our first-class cricket is supported, and also the way that our Test cricket is supported when you're selling out big crowds every game, every test, every day. I think it's different. You know, I think we are still producing players who want to play Test cricket because I think we're still in that era. It's the pinnacle of what goes on, and I'm hoping that sort of carries on forever, because you know we love Test cricket in this country, and there's no reason why that should change. It's just a case of whether they get distracted by what goes on over there with all the glitz and the glamour. But I think, as you're seeing with many good T20 players around the world, they need a grounding of some kind of technique that will help them step into the T20 format to make that work.
Interesting. Yeah.
Time for the quiz, Yoz.
Yeah, let's time for the quiz. Why don't we do the quiz? Hey, let's do the quiz.
I think he's very competitive, so you must be looking forward to this right from the start. Anyway, you've got 9 to beat. So
I'll show him the leaderboard actually. Let's show him the leaderboard. So this is the leaderboard here. Sorry, it's a bit fiddly. Right, that's the leaderboard.
9 points to beat. Right, okay.
Strauss was surprisingly good. Monty was surprisingly good.
Strauss was surprisingly good. How can you say Strauss was surprisingly good?
No, he was very competitive. He was very competitive anyway.
How many questions are there?
10. Cookie was absolutely useless. He's not on the list because he was in 2020.
Well, he was last year, wasn't he, as well? Is that right?
Yeah, he was last year.
We had this last year and this year.
So this is the quiz. It's called "How Well Do You Know Yourself?"
All right. So can everyone else answer these questions and put up their scores afterwards?
No,
but they can put up their scores afterwards. If they get more than me, then there's a bit of a worry.
Well, it's about you. How are they going to know half the answers about you?
Well, I don't know. I'm not sure. Some people on here might know as much about me as anyone else.
Well, Annie might. Yeah, Annie will probably get more than you, actually. Right. So it starts with some music. Ten questions. If you get the right answer, you get. He's got it. And if you get a wrong answer, you get. And no conferring or phoning a friend, okay?
Right, my phone's off. Don't worry.
Okay. Right, here we go then. Question number 1. Who was your only Test victim and who took the catch to dismiss him? So your only Test wicket.
Are they going to be that difficult all the way through?
Well, I thought that was quite easy, actually. Your only test wicket. Surely you remember your
Yeah.
only test victim and who took the catch to
Yeah.
dismiss him. So that's the first question.
Is that 2 points for that?
No.
And there's one.
Right.
Marcus Nortsey, if he's writing the answer down.
He's writing the answer. You announce the answer to everyone. You don't write it down.
You want to know? It's Imran Nazir, and it was caught by Ashley Giles.
He's got it.
Very good. Okay, this is not a written test, right? This is a verbal test, right? Okay. Question 2. Very good. How many first-class innings did you play before you got into double figures?
Oh, can I have time to work that out?
Yeah, you can have a little bit of time.
How many first-class innings?
I'll take, a good guess. I mean, if you don't get it quite right, but, ballpark, within 2, basically. How many first-class innings did you play for Somerset before you got double figures?
I'd say 7 innings.
He's got it.
I'll give you that, because it was actually 8. It was 4 games,
4
actually.
games.
Tell us about that.
Well, I got 1 and 3 in my debut. I don't remember after that.
You seem to keep coming up against Wasim Akram and Philip de Freitas.
Yeah. That was my first game where it was no chance because it was a real seaming pitch everywhere.
Yeah.
I don't remember those games.
And then you got 8 single-figure scores in 4 matches, and then you got an 81 against somebody in your 9th innings. So I'll give you that. Okay, well done. 2 out of 2.
Get in.
Question 3. Shane Warne and Matthias Muralitharan dismissed you 8 times each in Test cricket. Who dismissed you the most? 9 times.
This is Makaya and Tini.
He's got it.
Very good. And how many times was it?
9.
Sorry.
Yeah, it was in the question, Yoz.
Sorry. I just lost my questions temporarily there. Right, 3 out of 3. You're going well. Okay. On which ground did you score your second Test 100?
Old Trafford.
You sure?
Yeah.
He's got it.
4 out of 4.
Yeah, that was the famous David Shepherd no ball Test match.
Yeah, there was loads on there.
Yeah, when Pakistan won after tea on the final day. Dramatic game of cricket. Question number 5. You scored your last one-day 100 in a match in 2006.
Yeah.
Who else scored hundreds in that game?
God. Sanath Jayasuriya. Who was the other guy? Tharanga.
Blimey.
He's got it.
Very good. Upal Taranga, that perennial tourist who never seems any good and seems to always turn up.
We got 300. What did we get? 360, and they knocked talking about 35 overs.
321 England scored, and Sri Lanka knocked them off in 37.3 overs at Headingley. It was an incredible day's cricket. Taranga put on 286 for the first week.
I think Harmy went for a ton, didn't he?
He did. I think nearly a gallon. Yeah, I think he went for 97. I think he went for.
By the way, in that Pakistan Old Trafford Test match, I had about 4 death threats from Pakistan fans after that game, talking about the no balls and saying it was, the umpires were shit. Anyway, okay, well, it's 5 out of 5. You're doing incredibly well. This is unprecedented. You've missed your vocation.
Come on then. What we got
next? Should be on countdown or something.
This is going to test him, though. I think number 6, possibly.
Okay, so number 6. Stuart Carlisle, Paul Strang, Ryan Hines, and who? What is the link between those two, and who's the missing person? Stuart Carlisle, Paul Strang, Ryan Hines, and someone else.
They're all part of my one-day international wickets.
Give you half a point for that.
And the other one, was it Guy Whittle?
No. It was Ram Naresh Saran.
God, LBW?
Who knows?
Not sure. I thought he was I thought he'd be the most likely one you'd get actually of those four. Yeah, Stuart Carlisle, Paul Strang, Ryan Hines, and Ramnesh Sarwan were your 4 one-day international wickets. So that's half a point for the link.
That's 5.5 out of 6. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So you can still win. Okay. Number 7. Now this is an interesting one. On which of the 7 English Test grounds did you produce your highest average? So 7 English Test grounds you played on: Trent Bridge, Old Trafford, Leeds, Lords, Riverside, Edgbaston, and the Oval. On which of those 7 grounds did you have your highest average? So you might not have played necessarily, you might have played 1 or 2.
Careful, don't give him too many clues.
Okay. Okay.
I'm going to go Durham, the Riverside.
He's got it!
You're an anorak.
194 runs in 2 matches, an average of 97. Actually, just look at the other ones. The Oval 62, Edgbaston 67, Old Trafford 50, Leeds 44, Lords 42, and Trent Bridge 34.
Trent Bridge was always one of my bogey grounds. I got a pair there for Somerset, and I just always found it hard work. It was used to be an opening batter's nightmare.
Do you know which ground? This is not for any bonus points or anything, but do you know which ground you averaged your most in Test cricket? It's a sort of a trick question because I think you only played 1 game there, but.
What? Riverside?
No. Which ground in the world? In the world did you? No, it doesn't matter. It's quite obscure. It's the Multan Cricket Stadium. You actually averaged 99 in Multan. Anyway, there we go. So 6.5 out of 7.
Yeah.
Okay. Question 8. Who's got more hundreds for England, Tests and one-dayers combined? You, Geoffrey Boycott, or David Gower?
For England?
Yeah. England, one-day international and Tests combined. Who's got the most hundreds? You, Jeff Boycott, or David Gower?
Well, it's got to be Boyce. Boyce has got. Oh, he got Test 100. I think he's got something. What was it?
Actually, it's you.
What? So 26.
26, 25, Boycott 23. Trescothick 26, Gower 25, Boycott 23.
I should have known that really since the question's about me, isn't it?
Well, yeah, but you I suppose you showed your lack of conceit there. So you've suffered from, it should have been a bit more ballsy maybe. Right. Yeah, so that's 6.5 out of 8.
Yeah, it's easy to forget actually that David and Geoffrey didn't score that many one-day hundreds. Right. Question number 9. I don't know how scientific this question is. It's a Yozza question. Question number 9. Who has eaten more sausages, you or Mike Gatting?
Oh, jeepers Christ. Is that what we've got to? Is that where you've come up with these questions? Well, I've got to say me, haven't I?
Are you sure? Are you sure?
Yeah, I have to.
He's got it!
Yeah, that's correct, because Gat prefers bacon. And Yoz, of course, played with him for many years.
Right.
So
okay.
7.5
well
out of 9. And this last one is very much a Yoz question. I'm not having anything to do with this one.
Okay. Well, there could be 2 answers to this question, and I'll give you either of them. But what do the Somerset lads say is your most annoying or offensive habit?
Wow. How do you know this answer to this?
I'm a journalist. I ask questions. I have contacts.
Have you asked this question recently, or is this like go back a few years?
I've asked this question extremely recently, about an hour ago.
Okay, I'm trying to think who you might have spoke to.
You would have no idea who I've spoken to.
What's my most annoying habit?
Or I said offensive, actually.
Offensive habit.
Or something that causes a lot of mirth, but also,
Would it be bat knocking in?
No, try again.
Anyone got any help for me with this?
Well, my help to this is I'm not having anything to do with this question.
Yeah, could be to do with like smells, maybe.
This is whatever it is. It's lies. No idea.
Okay. Well, they say you fart a lot.
No, that's. I'm going to sue someone.
Well, and the other alternative answer you could have had was that they say you're crap at drinking cider.
Yeah, that's. I give them that. I give them that. But that wouldn't have come up in anything that I would be thinking about.
All right. Well, I'll tell you what. So we can park that question if you like. I'll give you another question then. Question 10. How many first-class hundreds have you scored?
66.
I think it's 67. I'll give you it anyway.
He's got it!
We'll let you off. I'll give you a point for that. Okay, so that was 8.5 out of 10. Very good. You were very good on yourself. You were very good on yourself. You were a bit crap on, personal habits.
Yours, I think you should give Trez that because he's right. It's 66.
Oh, right. Okay.
Thank you.
Well, I'll give him it again then. Well done. And that's 8.5 out of 10.
Well done.
Deal.
Excellent. Well done.
There you go.
That's the sound of MS Dhoni coming up to bat in Chennai. Which I didn't actually mean to press, but anyway, you got it as a bonus. So congratulations.
Yeah.
8.5 out of 10. Very impressive.
Couple of tough questions in there.
I've got to go to bed soon because I've got to get up very early in the morning for the cricket. But there's one question I think that's worth an answer, just briefly, and it's from Richard Shelley. We didn't ask it earlier, and he takes you back to 2010, the T20 final at Southampton, and that run out off the last, or non-run out off the last. But I was commentating on that match, and it was it was one of those sort of bizarre moments where no one really knew what was going on, and there was everyone just stood still for a moment at the end of the game because there was a runner, wasn't there? And it eludes me at the moment who the runner was.
Yeah,
he's someone very, very well known. Who was it? Jimmy Adams.
Yeah.
Who was batting though? It was
Dan Christian.
Dan Christian. That's it. Yeah. And if you'd run him out, he would have been out, even though because he were batting with a runner and the runner ran and the non-striker ran. And does that still still rankle with you, that moment?
It haunts me. I very often, a lot of cricketers will go through those sort of times when they wake up in the middle of those dreams where I can't get my pads on fast enough, or I'm trying to run between the wickets and you're stuck in quicksand and it doesn't work. Well, that's a similar one for me. It just pops in now and again, and it's like, oh no. It was on social media. Someone reposted it again. It might have been, I can't remember what it was, but it's just like I can't watch it back because it hurts too much. Yeah. It really does. It was a horrible feeling because obviously I knew the law. I knew the ruling of what was going on, and I completely forgot that I was at mid-wicket and Jimmy was running behind me, and the ball hit Dan Christian on the pad and it went off to sort of third man area, and we're all just sat there stood there watching the umpire, who was Rob Bailey, thinking, please give this out, and he didn't. And then for a couple of seconds everything was just all like, what was going on? The Hampshire player started running on, then stopped, and it was like, okay, what's happening here? And then Richard Ingleworth was at square leg umpire, and he came walking up to me and said, you do realise if you would have thrown the ball in and taken the bails off, he would have been out. And I was like, why was that then? And then it suddenly dawned on me what had happened, and I was gutted, absolutely gutted.
Yeah. I mean, runners, they do cause, well, I mean, you don't see them in international cricket now, but they do cause so much confusion, don't they? I mean, it's one of those really bizarre things because it's unnatural. You don't expect to see people running in that, you don't expect to see that person running up and down, and it just does scramble your mind, I suppose. It's so
much going on. I was trying to program the field. I was chatting to Xander, who was bowling, Xander the Brain, who was bowling, and trying to get the field right, because you're thinking, right, we want one to win, and where's it? If he tries to slog one, where's he going to get it? So you're trying to get the person. I had a deep mid wicket behind me. You want to program someone quite close to the stump, so if they run and you can throw the ball in, they can take the bails off. So everything was all going on, and I just completely lost sight of Jimmy Adams behind me and then forgot all about it. I reckon if I'd have been at extra cover looking at Jimmy, I would have worked it out because I knew the rule and I understood what was going on. It just, I completely forgot he was there.
I suppose the other thing, I mean, you say you had a sort of one of those aberrations, but of course the batsman did as well, didn't he? He had a complete aberration because he ran. So it's when you look back, I don't know whether you can look back philosophically. It sounds like you can't actually. It sounds like one of those. I've actually brought up one of those terrible moments.
Yeah, I won't sleep tonight now.
I'm so sorry, Mark. I'm so sorry about that. You've had a Dan Bentley moment tonight.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, but it is what it is, and you get on with it. And
yeah, exactly.
The footage that comes up now and again.
Yeah.
Listen to Eminem tonight, you'll be all right.
These things happen. Well, it's been brilliant to have you with us.
Yeah,
yeah, really, and good luck with the job.
When do you start officially? Do you go out to India?
No, I can't get out there because all the flights that getting out there are really tricky. With terms of quarantine and stuff like that, if it goes wrong and you're a close contact, you're stuck in a government hotel for 2 weeks. So it's just not feasible really to get out there, unfortunately, because I would have loved to have been out there, especially going to this new stadium where there'll be 50,000 people watching the T20 series and stuff. So yeah, shame really.
So you're starting in Loughborough, I suppose, are you?
No, well, I don't really know where I start. My last day with Somerset is next Friday, and then I start on the Monday with ECB. There's not a lot at Loughborough at the moment because obviously all the teams are away. I would imagine I'll spend a bit of time going around the counties really over the next couple of weeks with their pre-season. I'll probably come up with a list of the sort of guys I want to and need to watch batting wise to progress throughout the summer and start communicating and start talking and building relationships with them.
It's exciting, actually. God, if I was one of those players, blimey, what an opportunity. Amazing. Great. Well, listen, we'll let you go. Thank you very much. Really appreciate it. Everybody keep supporting the club and the charity, of course. We've got Mark Ramprakash next week, who will talk an equally interesting game from lots of different perspectives. But for now, Trez, thank you very much. And probably made you late for your favourite dinner. So get stuck in. And as Simon says, great luck, really good luck with the job. Fantastic.
Thank you very much.
Couldn't be a better person doing it.
Thank you, y'all.
Good luck and thank you very much. And please feel free to leave.
Thanks, everyone. See you again.
Cheers, Trez. Bye-bye. All the best. Yeah.